Have you ever felt full of noise, even while in silence? Your body is still, your hands are free, but your mind keeps running, chasing images, comparisons, news, opinions, messages you never asked for, but that invaded you anyway. You don't have visible wounds. There's no blood, no one notices, but inside, something is breaking. This isn't entertainment. This isn't staying informed. This is emotional intoxication. This is digital poisoning. And if you're here, maybe you already feel it. Maybe you don't know how to name it, but you know something inside you is crying for help. We live trapped in a cycle that takes more than it gives. We open our phones out of habit. We scroll through social media with no purpose. We consume content without even asking if we need it. And when we try to return to ourselves, we don't remember how. Where did your voice go? Where are your original thoughts, your intuition, your calm? Buried somewhere, under thousands of stimuli you never asked for, but absorbed anyway. And the more time you spend there, the farther you drift from yourself. The problem isn't just the time that's gone, it's what that time is stealing from you. Your attention, your clarity, your peace, your power to choose. Today we confuse connection with distraction, information with anxiety, visibility with self-worth. But at what cost? How many times have you felt your day slipped away without truly living it? How many times have you had to fake joy while drowning inside from comparisons no one asked you to make? How many times have you been scrolling through someone else's profile while postponing your own life's project? This is not a judgment, it's a signal, a call, and you still have time to hear it. The ancient Stoics didn't know about algorithms, but they knew something just as dangerous: mental slavery, losing sovereignty over oneself, forgetting the present. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Today, the fight for that freedom is not on a battlefield. It's in your pocket, on your screen, in what you let into your mind without any filter, but you are not doomed to stay this way. This episode isn't a rant against technology. It's an act of awareness, a pause to remember that you are the owner of your life, and serenity doesn't come from turning everything off, but from turning your presence on. Today, you will discover how to cleanse your soul of digital noise, how to protect your mind like a temple, how to reclaim your time, your center, your voice, without disappearing from the world. You don't need to vanish, you need to wake up. Each of the 10 lessons you're about to hear has been written as a key to open your eyes, to break invisible chains, to help you build an inner refuge untouched by outer chaos. And if this message has struck a chord with you, if you've ever felt alive but not present, if falling asleep has become hard because of overstimulation, if you no longer recognize yourself after spending more time watching than creating, then this session is for you. It's your moment to cleanse, to let go, to return. And maybe, just maybe, this is where your true freedom begins. Before we begin, I want you to declare your commitment by commenting, "From today on, I refuse to be consumed." That phrase will be your reminder that you're here to reclaim your mental peace, not to lose it to a screen. This is your chance to prove to yourself that your attention, your time, and your energy deserve respect, that your mind is not for sale, that your life is yours. And today you choose to live it with awareness. Without further delay, let's begin. First Stoic lesson: not everything you see is real. Have you ever felt small in front of a screen, as if everyone else had better, more beautiful, more successful lives, while you're just trying to survive the day? That's not a coincidence. It's the invisible effect of digital poison. And this first Stoic lesson is a warning. Not everything you see is real. The mind becomes polluted when it compares itself to illusions. And that's what we unconsciously consume every day. Social media doesn't present truths. It presents showcases, polished displays of the best parts of everyone's lives, sculpted bodies, smiling couples, curated success. We don't see the process. We don't see the effort, the anxiety, the exhaustion, the loneliness. We see a carefully crafted version made to inspire admiration, and often to provoke envy. The danger lies in this: the untrained mind doesn't distinguish between real and apparent. It compares, it gets frustrated, it feels left behind, it believes it's not enough. That's where self-criticism is born. Fatigue, the anxiety of not measuring up, and it becomes a self-feeding cycle. The worse you feel, the more you expose yourself to what you think you need to become. But in truth, the further you drift from yourself. The Stoics knew that other people's opinions don't define reality, and certainly not their appearances. Epictetus taught this firmly. It's not things that disturb us, but our judgment about them. This is one of the pillars of Stoic thought. The source of your distress is not what you see in the world, but what you believe about it. Today, the poison doesn't lie only in the content, but in the blind belief that what you see on the screen is an accurate representation of real life. But the digital world is a broken mirror. It reflects fragments, not wholeness. And those fragments are manipulated. Not everything that glitters is gold. Not every smile means peace. Not every published relationship is a happy one. Not every visible success is a true achievement. And most importantly, just because someone is showing their best version doesn't mean they're doing better than you. They might even be running from themselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "Perfect tranquility consists in the good ordering of the mind, in your own self-government, not in what others think of you, not in external comparisons." The path to inner peace begins by refusing to live by other people's filters. This lesson is an urgent call to see with new eyes, to look at the screen with awareness, to observe without swallowing everything whole. Every time you pick up your phone, you allow the world to enter your mind, and you must decide what you're willing to let in. A Stoic is not naive. They observe but don't get swept away. They look but don't get contaminated. They filter, reflect, and return to what truly matters: their virtue, their action, their peace. You can develop that filter too. You can begin to see with distance. You can look at a post and say, "This doesn't define my worth. This isn't my life. This isn't necessarily real." And by doing so, you begin to free yourself from the poison. Imagine for a moment that what you see online wasn't a measure of your success, but an opportunity to reaffirm your direction. Instead of comparing, you can give thanks. Instead of striving for what you don't need, you can strengthen what you already have. That is the perspective of the wise. That is the Stoic practice. This is not a message to demonize technology. It's about giving you back the power to choose. You can keep using social media, but with awareness, not as a slave to appearances, not as someone chasing validation that never comes, but as a free soul, capable of seeing beyond superficial sparkle. Remember, every time you feel like you're not enough because of what you see on a screen, you're missing a chance to look at yourself with compassion and with truth. Because your story, with its gaps, its mistakes, its silences, is worth more than any viral image. If there's one freedom we must reclaim today, it's the freedom of our perception. And that starts by questioning what we take as real. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are not lost. You are on your path. And that, even without filters or digital applause, is profoundly valuable. Today, I invite you to see with new eyes, to release the need to compare, to embrace your process the way the Stoics did, with patience, with integrity, and with the certainty that true greatness is not published. It's built, it's lived, it's honored even if no one sees it. Your life is real, and that alone is a miracle. Second Stoic lesson: master the urge to look. We live trapped in an age where the digital pulse dictates the rhythm of our emotions. We wake up with a screen lighting our face, and we end the day with tired eyes from endless scrolling. It doesn't matter whether the day was long, painful, or glorious. The finger reaches for the phone out of habit. And without realizing it, the urge to look has become an extension of our existence. But Stoicism does not admit slavery. Epictetus taught that freedom is born from mastery over oneself, and today that battle is fought in something as seemingly simple as resisting the urge to unlock your screen for the 5th time in a minute. Because every time you do it without reason, you give a piece of your will to something external, and a fragmented soul cannot live in peace. Digital poison is not just the content, it's the compulsiveness with which we seek it, the anxiety of missing out, the fear of not being connected. But what is truly lost in that frenzy is the most valuable thing you possess: your attention, your calm, your time. The Stoics were masters of the present. They understood that every moment stolen by distraction is a moment that won't return. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is ours except time." And yet today we surrender that time to the algorithm, to hollow urgency, to the empty gesture of checking for the sake of checking. Not out of necessity, but out of habit, not for pleasure, but out of addiction. Ask yourself, how many times a day do you check your phone? How many of those times had a real purpose? And how many were just automatic reactions to boredom, discomfort, or anxiety? The urge to look is not curiosity, it is noise, and constant noise eventually becomes a cage. Mastering that urge doesn't mean rejecting technology. It means using it with awareness. It means deciding when and why. It means not letting it decide for you. Willpower, like a muscle, grows stronger with every act of self-command, with every time you choose not to look, with every moment you choose to be here rather than escape into the infinite of a screen. The Stoic knows that the value of life is not measured by connectivity, but by the quality of presence. And presence is not found in reels or stories or unread messages. It is found in the moment you breathe, the moment you think, the moment you are yourself without needing external validation. This is not about demonizing the digital world. It's about remembering that another world exists outside it, that there are glances worth more than notifications, voices that heal more than voice notes, walks that soothe more than scrolling, and silences that speak louder than any viral content. You decide whether every glance at your phone is an act of connection or an act of escape, whether it's a tool or a crutch, whether it extends your wisdom or numbs your solitude. Marcus Aurelius, wise among the powerful, reflected that the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. And every time you choose to observe your real environment before your feed, every time you pause before giving in to the impulse, you're protecting that quality. You're treating your mind like a temple. You're saying, I am more than my impulses. I am the master of my gaze. Mastery begins in the small things, in resisting the unconscious gesture, in closing your eyes before opening the app, in remembering that urgency is not necessity, that anxiety is not destiny, that you can look, but not because some inner emptiness dressed as habit demands it. This is the first step toward true freedom, not the freedom to turn off the phone, but the freedom to not need it, not the freedom to avoid looking, but the freedom to look with meaning, because conscious attention is the rarest currency of our era, and those who protect it, protect their soul. You can do it. You can tame the impulse. You can reclaim your power. And when you do, you'll find that the world becomes clearer, your mind lighter, your heart breathes differently, because you are no longer chasing the immediate, you are inhabiting the essential. That is the true victory of the modern Stoic, reclaiming sovereignty over their gaze. Summary: break the compulsion. Your attention is your life, and your life deserves presence, not distraction. Your mind wasn't made to live trapped in notifications. If today you choose to free yourself from noise, anxiety, and digital addiction, subscribe. This is a refuge for those seeking clarity, focus, and real presence. Here, you recover your attention, your calm, and your inner power. Don't let the algorithm think for you. Let's return to control. Let's return to what matters. Let's continue. Third Stoic lesson: guard your peace like a temple. Imagine that your mind is a sacred temple, an inner sanctuary to which only what honors your well-being, peace, and growth should be granted access. But in today's world, that temple has been desecrated, not by invaders with swords, but by notifications, by faceless criticism, by digital comparisons that sneak into even your first thought upon waking. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic sages, wrote, "Peace lies within, do not seek it outside." Yet we live surrounded by distractions that make us forget this essential truth. Every unanswered message, every comment that questions your worth, every algorithm that decides what you should feel, each of them cracks the walls of your serenity. This isn't about demonizing technology, it's about reclaiming sovereignty over what you allow in. Just as the body needs hygiene, so does the mind. What you consume emotionally can be just as toxic as what you eat. A polluted mental environment creates chaos, anxiety, negative thoughts echoing endlessly in the dark. Digital poison has many forms: a passive-aggressive comment that lingers all afternoon, the silent pressure of comparing yourself to someone more successful, the anxiety of feeling you must reply instantly to every external prompt, and the result, loss of focus, disconnection from yourself, a diffused discomfort you can't quite locate, but one that slowly drains you. The Stoics understood the value of inner protection. Their philosophy was not escapism, but strength. They knew that while you cannot control what happens outside, you can always choose what you allow to enter. Each time you react unconsciously to the external world, you hand over the keys to your temple. And when you do that repeatedly, you are no longer the guardian of your peace. You become a guest in your own mind. Seneca said it clearly. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Often the pain doesn't come from the event, but from the interpretation, amplified by digital noise that distorts our judgment. That's why guarding your peace isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. It's an act of emotional survival. So how do you protect that temple? First, by setting boundaries. Not everything deserves a response. Not everything merits your attention. You are not obligated to expose yourself to what harms you, just to stay informed or to not look rude. If something robs your peace, it's valid to close the door. Deciding which apps to mute, which conversations not to have, which stimuli to ignore. That's not cowardice, that's wisdom. Second, by choosing with intention what you consume. Not all content nourishes, much of it only pollutes. Think about it. If someone offered you poisoned food every day, would you keep eating it? Then why accept toxic thoughts in the form of viral videos, negative posts, or judgment that doesn't build you? Third, by cultivating moments of silence. The mind, like the body, needs rest, and not just the rest of sleep, but the rest of non-reaction, the rest of no scrolling, the rest of not waiting for a notification. In that silence, clarity returns, and with clarity, strength. Fourth, by remembering who you are beyond others' opinions. The Stoic does not seek external validation. Their compass is internal. If you live to please, you'll be a slave to every criticism. But if you live by virtue, even amid the storm, you'll have peace. And that peace does not depend on applause, only on being able to look yourself in the mirror each night with dignity. To guard your peace like a temple means to understand that not everything should enter, and that you are the sole gatekeeper. It means saying no to excess, to drama, to chaos imported from a screen. It means choosing your well-being over immediacy. It means turning down the noise to embrace order. Today, more than ever, being a Stoic is an act of rebellion, because in a world that tells you react, you choose to breathe. In a world that screams speak, you choose to reflect. In a world that urges you to look outward, you choose to look inward. And there, in that intimate act of reconnection, peace returns. The fertile silence where true strength grows returns. The certainty returns. that nothing can disturb your soul unless you allow it. So tomorrow, before you open your phone, ask yourself, does what I'm about to see honor my peace or pollute it? Does this reaction build me or disorganize me? Does this impulse serve me or enslave me? And if the answer does not serve your well-being, close the door. It's not censorship, it's self-respect. And self-respect is not selfish. It's the most generous act you can offer yourself. Because your peace, in the end, is the only thing that's always with you, and protecting it is protecting yourself. Fourth Stoic lesson: eliminate the noise, listen to your voice. There's a kind of noise that doesn't come from outside, but settles within you. A constant, subtle, almost invisible noise. You don't notice it at first, but it begins to confuse you, to fill you with doubt, to silence your intuition. It's the noise of other people's voices, of imposed expectations, of public opinion disguised as truth. And today, more than ever, that noise is amplified with every click, every like, every story that isn't yours, but invades your own. In a world saturated with stimuli, one of the greatest acts of personal power is learning to listen to your own voice. The one that doesn't shout but guides, the one that doesn't seek likes but knows what it wants, the one that doesn't need validation, only to be heard. Stoicism teaches us that the greatest strength of a human being lies in their ability to govern themselves. And to govern yourself, you must first know yourself. But how can you know yourself if you're constantly exposed to the influence of others? How can you know what you truly think if you spend all day repeating what you hear online? How can you know what you feel if every emotion is triggered by external reaction? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, so dye it with thoughts that honor you." But in the digital age, our thoughts are often no longer our own. They come from the outside, from trends, influencers, algorithms telling us what to feel, when to be outraged, what to buy, who to follow, what to fear. And the most dangerous part is that they do it silently. There's no announcement saying, "Now we'll shape your identity." You're simply exposed. You absorb, you imitate, and without realizing it, you stop being yourself. You become an echo, a borrowed reflection, just another user in a sea of copied opinions and induced emotions. The Stoics spoke of returning to oneself as the path to wisdom, not because it was comfortable, but because it was necessary. Epictetus insisted that free thought is that which is not enslaved by the external, and today, reclaiming that free thought is more urgent than ever. Eliminating the noise doesn't mean becoming uninformed. It means filtering, choosing with intention. Not everything deserves to be heard. Not every trend deserves to be followed. Not every wave of collective outrage deserves your energy. Some things you can witness without absorbing. Some topics you can let pass without letting them disturb your center. And that filter, only you can install it. Imagine your mind is a garden. Every thought you let in plants a seed. Some seeds bloom into flowers, others into weeds. If you allow in every noise, every comparison, every fear, every manufactured truth, your garden fills with weeds. And when there are too many weeds, you can no longer see your own flowers. That's why disconnecting is not escapism. It's pruning, it's returning, a humble act of reconnection with your essence. Walking without music, being without posting, thinking without checking, speaking without repeating, feeling without seeking approval. These are the small revolutions that, day by day, return you to yourself. And the more you listen, the more you understand. You gain clarity about your true values, about what you accept and what you reject, about what you need and what you're merely copying. And there, in that inner silence, true freedom is born. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to know who you are without needing approval. The freedom to think differently without fear, to act from your center, to build a life that aligns with your truth, not with what sells well. Marcus Aurelius emphasized the importance of not being dragged by public opinion, of not living for applause. Because the Stoic doesn't seek fame, they seek virtue. They don't aim to be right in the world's eyes, but in their own conscience. Today, if you're exposed to hundreds of messages a day, you need to create pauses, moments of silence. When you don't share, don't react, don't consume. Just listen, just observe, just be, because in that space, when all the noise fades, what remains is you, your voice, your truth, your path, and there's no algorithm that can dictate that. So when you feel lost, don't look outward, turn off the noise, close your eyes, breathe, and listen, because what you've been searching for might not be on a screen. It might be in the whisper you've been ignoring. The one that says, return to yourself. Fifth Stoic lesson: reclaim sovereignty over your time. There's an uncomfortable truth we often avoid. Time isn't lost, it's given away. And in the digital age, we give it without even noticing. We hand it over for nothing. We let it slip by as we scroll, respond, watch, consume, without purpose, without presence, without awareness. Every time you open a social media app without intention, someone else wins. They win your attention, your energy, your focus. Advertising wins. The algorithm wins. The system that feeds off your distraction wins. And you, what do you gain? The Stoics regarded time as the most precious resource. Seneca put it in brutally clear terms. It's not that we have little time, but that we waste much. And he wasn't just talking about time that slips away. He meant the time we give without valuing ourselves, time we let fall like water between our fingers. Today, that waste has become routine. You wake up, and the first thing you do is check your phone. Not out of necessity, but out of habit. You open Instagram, check notifications, watch one story, then another, and before you realize it, 30 minutes have passed. 30 minutes of your life you'll never get back. And worse yet, they didn't make you happier, wiser, more fulfilled, just more distracted. The Stoics knew each day was a gift. That living wisely didn't just mean breathing. It meant choosing with intention how you spend your time, because time is the raw material of your existence. With it, you build your days, your relationships, your legacy. But if you give it away to what doesn't matter, then you're building yourself into the fleeting, the shallow, the empty. Have you asked yourself how much of your day is truly yours? Do the math. Hours on social media, on useless content, on soulless conversations, on reflexive replies, on anxious scrolling. Then add in your work hours, your obligations, your unchosen commitments. How many hours are left for you, for your mind, your body, your spirit? Seneca warned, life is long enough if you know how to use it well. But today, in a system that glorifies busyness, we confuse being full of tasks with being fully alive. We fill our days with to-dos, but drain our souls. A Stoic doesn't live like that. A Stoic doesn't run just to run, doesn't cram their calendar out of fear of being unproductive, doesn't get swept away by others' urgency. The Stoic chooses, filters, says no, prioritizes, and above all, guards their time like a treasure. Because unlike money or possessions, time can't be recovered, it can't be negotiated, it doesn't multiply. It is singular, and every wasted minute is a small death. Reclaiming sovereignty over your time doesn't mean doing more. It means doing what matters. It means deciding not to live on autopilot, not to react impulsively to every notification, not to let an app dictate your habits, your mood, or your purpose. Want to know what you're truly investing your life in? Look at how you spend your time. If you're more connected to your phone than to yourself, something is off. If your first reaction upon waking is to check your feed, you're handing over your first thought to the world, and that first thought should be yours. It should be an anchor dash, not a chain. The Stoics began their day with intention. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations at dawn. not out of obligation, but because he understood the first moment of the day sets the tone for everything else. You can do the same today, not with ancient texts perhaps, but with modern awareness. You can start the day in silence, breathing, giving thanks, asking yourself, what do I want to build today? What thoughts do I want to nourish? What time do I want to honor? And when you do, everything shifts. You begin to see your attention as sacred, your minutes as investments, your days as fertile ground that deserves to be sown with purpose. You are no longer a victim of the digital agenda. You are the master of your schedule, and that, in this hyper-connected world, is an act of rebellion. Today you can choose not to look at your phone until you've first connected with yourself. You can set boundaries. Schedule screen-free time. Create moments of depth, even if brief. Read, walk, listen, write, be, without interruption, without needing to post it. You can begin to treat your time as you would a diamond, with respect, with intention, with care. Because if you don't value your time, no one else will. Reclaiming your time isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. It's the first step in reconnecting with who you are, what you dream of, what you truly need. It's also the path to reclaiming your power, because when you reclaim your time, you reclaim your life. And then digital poison loses its grip, because you're no longer at its mercy. You're no longer always available. You no longer live to react, you live to choose. And that choice is freedom. Sixth Stoic lesson: you don't need to be informed about everything. One of the greatest traps of the modern world is the illusion that you must know everything, be up to date, have an opinion. Stay informed, read, watch, comment, react, get outraged, as if the value of your existence depended on how much information you can digest each day. And it's a slow poison, because it doesn't show at first. It seems like culture, awareness, interest, but over time it becomes anxiety, fatigue, emotional exhaustion. It's like your mind is a vessel that never stops filling. Every news story, every crisis, every scandal, every war, every tragedy, it all falls in, and without realizing it, you're overflowing with sadness, helplessness, rage, and all of that without having lived a single moment of it firsthand. You just absorbed it. The Stoics were clear: not everything that exists deserves your attention. Not everything that happens needs your energy. Epictetus put it plainly: of the things that exist, some are in our control, and some are not. And if it's not in your control, why carry it? Today, we confuse being well-informed with being overexposed. But they're not the same. To be informed is to wisely choose what nourishes your understanding, what educates you, what serves you. Being exposed is letting anything in. No filter, no limits, no care. And in this world, where everything is urgent, everything screams, everything demands a reaction, it's easier to end up saturated than it is to find clarity. Have you ever felt exhausted for no apparent reason? Maybe you slept well, maybe nothing bad happened in your life, and yet you're tired, emotionally drained. And if you look honestly, you might find that exhaustion doesn't come from what you live, but from what you consume. Every post filled with hate, every thread documenting a tragedy, every video showing the worst of humanity, all of that has a cost. Watching is not free. Absorbing is not free. Your soul pays the price. The Stoics spoke of serenity as a virtue, and serenity doesn't come from infinite knowledge, but from the wisdom of choosing what to look at, what to read, what to leave out, not out of ignorance, but for health, for protection, for self-respect. And here's a key lesson: you're not less empathetic for not getting involved in everything. You're not less human for not wanting to know it all. In fact, protecting your mental health is what allows you to be useful, compassionate, and present in the areas where you can make a difference. If your mind is shattered by all the things you can't control, how will you have the energy for the things you can? Seneca also said, "A mind that is everywhere is nowhere." And you deserve to be in your life, not scattered, not contaminated, not consumed by the noise of the world. You have the right to turn off the news, to log off, to not read that message, to not comment on that article, to not participate in every controversy. You're not an activist for everything. You're a human being, just one, with limits, with a heart that also needs silence. The Stoics were not insensitive, they were practical. They knew pain exists, that the world can be unjust, that life has shadows, but they also knew that in order to face all that with virtue, you must first be centered, clear, strong on the inside, and you can't get there if you're constantly bombarded by external chaos. Today, wisdom doesn't lie in knowing everything, but in knowing when it's enough, when to let go, when to disconnect, when to say, I can't change this, but I can change how it affects me. Maybe you can't stop a war, but you can stop poisoning yourself with every image. Maybe you can't prevent a disaster, but you can choose how to preserve your peace. Maybe you can't silence the world, but you can turn down the volume within. And that decision is Stoicism applied. It's practical philosophy. It's protected emotional health. So next time you feel the urge to know everything, pause. Ask yourself, does this build me up or break me down? Does it empower me or drain me? Does it align with my virtue or pull me into anxiety? And if the answer doesn't strengthen you, you don't need to keep watching. You're here to live, not to carry the weight of the world. You're here to act where you have power, not to collapse over what lies beyond your reach. You're here to build peace, not to drown in someone else's chaos. Choose your focus, choose your information, choose your health, because no one else will do it for you. If you've made it this far, it's because you're ready to reclaim control over your mind and your time. Follow us and comment, I choose digital peace, to affirm your commitment to a present, clear, and noise-free life. This is just the first step toward a more conscious and serene existence. By the time you reach the 9th lesson, you'll discover an essential truth that may transform your relationship with technology. Don't miss it. It might just return to you what matters most, your attention. Let's continue. 7th Stoic lesson. You are not content, you are consciousness. At some point in this digital age, we stopped living and started displaying. We no longer just feel, think, learn. Now we document it. We share it. We turn it into stories, posts, 15-second videos with background music. And slowly, without realizing it, our lives began to be lived outwardly. Not from experience, but from exposure. And that's a subtler poison than any other. Because it seems innocent, even gratifying. It gives you validation, visibility, an ephemeral sense of belonging. But when that cycle repeats, it empties you. It turns you into a character, into an image, into a display window. Today, many don't know who they are outside their profile. They don't know how to feel valuable without likes, views, comments. If there's no like, they feel what they did wasn't worthwhile. If there's no reaction, they think they failed, as if their very existence constantly needed to be approved, validated, applauded. The Stoics would never have accepted living like this, because the Stoic doesn't live to impress. He lives to be whole. He doesn't act for show, but for virtue. He doesn't strive to project a perfect image, but to live a coherent life. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome, but in his meditations, he wasn't speaking to the world. He was speaking to himself. He didn't write to please. He wrote to correct himself, to remind himself, to strengthen his character. Can you imagine the power of that? In a world where everyone shouts outward, the Stoic whispers inward. You are not a brand. You are not a product. You are not a well-edited selfie. You are not your follower count. You are not the character you built to be liked. You are a human being, complex, contradictory, authentic. And that doesn't need a filter. But if you live like content, you lose yourself as consciousness. Because when you only care about what others see, you stop looking at what you truly feel. When everything is decided based on how it will look, you stop acting based on what you believe. When you live to display, you're no longer living. You're performing, and that exhausts you alienates you, destroys you. How many times have you felt unable to disconnect because you have to be present? How many times have you posted something you didn't feel just to keep up? How many times have you felt invisible for not sharing anything? How many times have you measured your day by its digital impact? All of that is a sign that something has gone off course, that your life has been colonized by external expectation, that your worth is in someone else's hands, that you've forgotten who you were when you didn't need to prove anything. And the good news is, you can return to your roots, to your essence, to that place where you don't need to prove, only to be. Seneca said it powerfully, "It is not important to live long, but to live with meaning." And that meaning is not measured in metrics. It is measured in presence, in authenticity, in actions aligned with your beliefs, even if no one sees them. Today, many live in fear of digital silence, of not being seen, of going unnoticed. But the Stoic does not fear that. He fears not being faithful to himself. And you, what do you fear more? That no one sees your story, or that you stop writing your own, that no one applauds you, or that you stop respecting yourself, that your life isn't viral, or that it's not true. Your answer to those questions marks a profound difference in how you live. Because once you understand that you are not content, you reclaim your freedom. You no longer need to display your joy for it to be real. You no longer need to post your success for it to have value. You no longer need to film your pain for it to be legitimate. You simply live. And that act, simple and profound, is the most revolutionary thing you can do in today's world. We live in times where everyone competes for attention, where everything intimate has become spectacle, where even spirituality, grief, and self-growth are monetized. And in the midst of that, choosing Stoic sobriety is resistance. It's an act of dignity. Epictetus would have said it this way: "He is not free who cannot live without being seen." And you deserve to be free. Free to disconnect without guilt, to not share what you don't want to stay silent, to live privately, to exist without performing. Today, your greatest challenge is not to gain more followers, but to not lose yourself, because you are not an account, not a story, not a number. You are consciousness, and consciousness does not need to be seen to be valuable. 8th Stoic lesson: practice digital fasting. Most people know what it means to fast physically, skipping a meal, giving the digestive system a break, creating space for the body to recover, regenerate, return to balance. But how many truly understand what it means to fast mentally? In this digital era, where the noise never stops and stimulation never ceases, what we need most is not more information or more connection. What we need most is fasting. Fasting from notifications, fasting from screens, fasting from artificial dopamine. The Stoics, though they lived over 2,000 years ago, understood the importance of retreat, not as an escape, but as a strengthening. Seneca spoke of moments when the wise should withdraw from the bustle of Rome to turn inward, to think, to nourish the soul without the clamor of the world. They didn't need a phone to feel overwhelmed. Human noise, social demands, the chaos of the city, those were enough. And even then they knew, without silence, there is no clarity. Today, that chaos has multiplied 1,000-fold, and we carry it in our pockets. We live glued to a machine that never sleeps. That demands our attention every second. That rewards our presence and punishes our absence with anxiety. The phone is no longer just an object. It has become an extension of our mind, and worse still, its usurper. Have you noticed how your day changes when, for some reason, you don't have access to your phone? At first you may feel anxious, restless, like something's missing, but if you can push through that threshold, something different begins to appear. Your gaze lifts, your thoughts align, your emotions settle, and above all, something profound is revealed: you. Because the more noise outside, the less space inside. And digital fasting is precisely that, an opportunity to clear the soul, to reconnect with what matters, to recover the sensitivity lost among so many empty notifications. But of course, it's not easy. It's not easy because we've been trained to fear silence, to believe that if we don't post, we disappear, that if we don't respond quickly, we fail, that if we're not active, we don't exist. That's the trap. We've been convinced that the value of our life depends on how visible it is. And the more we believe that, the farther we stray from who we truly are. That's why digital fasting is not just a practice. It's an act of rebellion. It's looking the system in the eye and saying, "You don't own me." It's turning off your phone not by accident, but by choice. It's walking without earbuds, gazing at the sky, hearing the sound of your own breath again. It's writing in a notebook instead of on a screen. It's having a conversation without interruptions, without checking the time, without thinking how that photo will look. It's living without the need to prove you're living. And this is where Stoicism enters. The Stoics were masters of the essential. Their lives were simple, not out of poverty, but out of wisdom. They rejected excess, noise, distraction. They knew that everything truly valuable in life demands full attention, love, virtue, wisdom, inner peace, and full attention is only cultivated in silence. Epictetus taught us to distinguish between what depends on us and what doesn't. Today, we often believe we need to be connected, but that's not a real need. It's a learned habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. It can be replaced with something better, something that brings us back to ourselves. To fast digitally is not to leave the world. It's to return to your own. Not to disconnect out of trend, but out of health, out of dignity, out of clarity. Because you deserve to reclaim your mind. You deserve to choose what you think, feel, and do, without a platform deciding it for you. You don't need to disappear for weeks. Sometimes an hour a day is enough. A Sunday without social media, an evening without notifications, an afternoon just for yourself. And you'll see how, little by little, space opens up. An internal space where there are no comparisons, no demands, no likes. Only you. That space is sacred, because there your voice lives, your truth, your serenity. And when you experience it, you won't want to go back. You won't want to fill every silence with stimuli. You won't feel the need to be everywhere, because you've discovered that the most important place to be is present. Seneca said, "No wind is favorable to the one who doesn't know where he's going." And if you don't know where you're going, the algorithm will decide for you. But if you choose to pause, to fast, to silence, to return, then the wind shifts. It blows inward, toward who you are, toward what matters. The digital poison dissolves when you choose not to drink it, and the soul blooms when the noise goes quiet. If this message resonates with you, subscribe and join this space devoted to protecting your mind, reclaiming your focus, and freeing yourself from digital poison. Here, we don't just protect your attention. We cultivate consciousness, calm, and presence in a world that tries to steal them from you. Ninth Stoic lesson: use technology, don't be used by it. We live in an age where technology feels like a miracle. With a single click, we can speak to someone on the other side of the world, learn anything we want, work from anywhere, share our thoughts, achievements, emotions. Everything seems possible. But that miracle has a cost, and that cost is often invisible. It's not the cost of the phone or the subscription or the internet. The real cost is your autonomy, your time, your attention, your peace of mind. When you use technology without awareness, without purpose, without limits, you stop using it, and it starts using you. Maybe you don't notice it right away. You still feel like you're in control, that you choose what you see when you log in, what you post. But are you really the one choosing? Are you the one who decides to open that app? Or is it anxiety? Are you the one who chooses to follow that person? Or is it the algorithm? Are you the one who posts? Or is it the fear of not being seen? The Stoics didn't know smartphones, social media, or viral videos, But they did know slavery, the kind that binds the soul, the kind that happens when something external begins to control your inner world. And that's exactly what's happening today. We're handing over our freedom to a machine that never sleeps, that has no morals, no compassion, no limits. It only wants one thing, our attention, because attention is the most valuable resource of the 21st century. And the more attention you give away without awareness, the less ownership you have over your own life. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Today we could say, no one is free if they can't leave their phone on the table without feeling anxious. It's harsh, but it's true. How many times have you felt you couldn't start your day without checking your messages? How many times have you interrupted a real conversation to respond to something virtual? How many times have you felt guilty for not being present on social media? As if that defined your worth. Technology isn't the problem. The problem is how we relate to it. Because a tool only fulfills its function when you direct it. But if the tool is guiding your mind, your schedule, your emotions, then it's no longer a tool, it's a master. And a Stoic submits to no master. Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus. They all insisted on the same truth. Real freedom is within. It's about mastering yourself, not depending on pleasures or flattery or external stimuli, not needing approval or noise or constant exposure. So what does it mean to use technology without being used by it? It means deciding when and why you use it with clarity. It means turning off your phone without guilt. It means not feeling obligated to reply immediately. It means remembering that what truly matters doesn't always get posted. It means knowing your worth isn't measured in views or likes. It's using the web as a means, not as an end, because your purpose is not to entertain, nor to be available 24/7, nor to prove anything. Your purpose is to live with virtue, with presence, with real connection. And often that demands disconnection. It means leaving the phone behind during a meal. It means walking without music. It means looking someone in the eye without distractions. It means allowing yourself to be bored, to feel, to think without interruptions. Remember, you weren't born to obey a screen. You were born to act with wisdom, to choose with freedom, to live with intention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do what needs to be done, not as if forced, but as if you choose to do it." That applies to the digital world too. Don't enter a platform as a slave. Do it as a master. Don't consume content like a machine. Do it as a seeker. Don't present yourself as a character. Be you, whole, complete, real. Technology can help you. It can be a bridge, a book, a growth tool, but only if you decide when, how, and why you use it. Don't forget, you are not at the service of an app. You are at the service of your soul. And if you feel like you're getting lost in the noise, if your day revolves around whatever appears on the screen, if you can't remember the last time you sat in silence with yourself, then it's time to pause, not to destroy technology, but to reclaim your place in front of it. A Stoic doesn't run from the world. They inhabit it with strength, with clarity, with consciousness. And so can you. You can use technology to grow, to connect, to share value, but never to numb yourself, to distract yourself from you, to hide the emptiness, because you're not a statistic. You're not a follow count. You're not an edited photo. You're a lucid mind, a living heart, a soul in search of meaning. And no platform, no matter how powerful, can give you that if you don't choose to reclaim it yourself. Today is a good day to take the reins back. 10th Stoic lesson. Return to the present, where everything happens. There's a cruel paradox in this digital age. We're more connected than ever, yet more absent than ever before, absent from ourselves, from the moment, from silence, from the real life that slips away while we scroll through a screen. We're trapped in an endless cycle of stimulation, an infinite scroll, a feed that updates faster than our emotions can even process. And without realizing it, life becomes a succession of distractions. Have you noticed that many times you don't even know how you got to a certain post, or that you open your phone for one specific task, but spend half an hour looking at things you don't even remember? That's not just a loss of time, it's a loss of presence. And to the Stoics, that's the same as losing life itself. Marcus Aurelius was clear: the present is the only thing that can be taken from you. Not the past, it's already gone. Not the future, it hasn't arrived. Only this moment, this now. And yet, it's what we neglect the most. Today, you don't need a tyrant to enslave you. All it takes is a notification, a message, an alert, a tiny stimulus that steals your attention, and with it, your awareness. Digital poison doesn't always appear painful. Often it's disguised as entertainment, as novelty, as I just need to relax for a bit. But when that bit becomes ours, when your mind jumps from one thing to another without rest, what you lose isn't just time, you lose clarity, direction, purpose. Epictetus warned, where your attention is, there your life is. So, where is your life now? Is it in the shallow conversations you consume, in the images you envy without realizing it, in the drama that drains your energy? Or is it here, with you, in what you're feeling, in what you're choosing, in what you're building, step by step? The present is not a place you arrive at. It's a muscle you train, a decision you make over and over again. And for that, you must switch off autopilot, deactivate the urge to be constantly informed, interrupt the habit of checking your phone out of boredom. Accept that you don't need to share everything you live for it to have value. Remember that being present is the greatest act of rebellion in a culture that pushes you to be everywhere except with yourself. The Stoics didn't speak of here and now as a spiritual trend. They spoke of it with urgency because they knew the soul gets lost when it's scattered. Seneca said, "It's not that we have little time, it's that we waste much of it." And we waste it especially when we're not present. When you eat but are reading the news, when you speak but are checking messages, when you work but your mind is elsewhere, when you live but don't really inhabit yourself. And what happens when you're not in your present? Nothing satisfies you. Everything feels urgent. You feel behind, but you don't know where you're going. Your body's in one place, your mind in another. You become fragmented, and fragmentation is exhausting. That's why this 10th lesson is not an invitation to disconnect forever. It's a call to reconnect with the only thing that truly belongs to you, this moment. The now isn't a trend. It's a refuge. It's the only place where change happens, where real transformation occurs, where you can choose to stop running, where you can look at yourself with honesty and ask, am I truly living or just reacting? Returning to the present doesn't require technology. You don't need an app, a tutorial, or an influencer to show you how. It requires you to pause, to observe your breath, to look someone in the eyes, to feel the wind on your face as you walk, to give thanks for what is, without waiting for digital validation. It requires you to recognize that life is finite and not worth living asleep. Because when it's over, you won't remember the memes, you won't remember the reels, you won't remember the messages from strangers. You'll remember the real moments, the genuine laughter, the honest tears, the hugs, the stillness, the small things that can only be felt when you're truly present. Marcus Aurelius also said, "Each day provides its own gifts. Don't waste them dreaming of the future or regretting the past." So, what gift is this moment offering you? Maybe the chance to let go of fear. Maybe the opportunity to choose a new direction. Maybe the invitation to close your phone and open your eyes. Returning to the present is returning to yourself, and at your core, you don't need filters or approval or an escape from the now. You just need to inhabit it, because when you do, everything changes. The noise quiets, the mind clears, the soul breathes, and finally, you come home. Are you ready to stay? Maybe you're still holding your phone. Maybe while listening to this session, you were also replying to messages, opening other tabs, scrolling without really seeing. And I don't judge you. We live like this, connected to everything except ourselves. But if you've made it this far, if something you heard stirred something deep inside, if at any moment you felt that silent blow that truth delivers when it's recognized, then this final message is for you. Because beyond the networks, the reels, and the constant distraction, there is you. You with your soul burdened by overstimulation. You with your mind exhausted from jumping between content without pause. You who feel something's not right, but don't know how to silence the noise. You who just want to breathe without having to prove anything to anyone. You who dream of a simpler life, a truer life, a life that's your own. And if there's one thing that becomes clear at the end of this Stoic session, it's this. You don't need more information, you need more connection. Connection to your values, to your body, to your time, to what truly matters. Digital poison isn't just what you consume. It's what you stop living because you're too busy consuming. It's the love left unexpressed, the hug not felt, the word left unsaid because your eyes were on a screen. It's the progressive disconnection from your own self, and no viral content can fill that void. Only presence can, real moments, conscious choices, and communities that help us remember what matters when the world keeps trying to make us forget. That's why you're here, not by coincidence but by need. Because your soul is asking for pause, your mind is asking for order, your body is asking for rest, and your spirit is asking to return. Return to yourself, return to your own life. And you don't have to do it alone. This space exists for that very reason, to walk with you as you live with greater awareness, more wisdom, and deeper peace. Because Stoic philosophy is not just a set of ancient quotes, it's a compass in the chaos of modern life, a shelter from the noise, a way of living that is more dignified, more free, more full. So if this session gave you something, an idea, a comfort, a wake-up call, I invite you to stay, to subscribe, to write to us, to become part of this silent yet unstoppable movement. Those who choose to guard their minds, protect their peace, and live with intention. Because you weren't born to spend your life answering notifications. You were born to create, to love, to serve, to grow. And if today you choose to begin with you, your peace, your presence, you've already taken the most courageous step. It won't be easy, but it will be real. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening all the way through. And above all, thank you for not surrendering to the noise. We'll see you in the next session, where together we'll keep remembering what is essential. I'm excited to hear your stories of growth on this path. Share your victories, your challenges, and your reflections in the comments. And if you don't know what to say, write, "Starting today, I choose my peace over the algorithm," to show that you've completed this session. And don't forget to subscribe if this content resonates with you and your values. Your voice matters here. Every insight strengthens and elevates our community, reflecting the true value of each individual and shaping the collective identity of our Stoic movement. The most supported reflection will be pinned as a banner of this community of Stoic minds, a community that doesn't run from pain, but walks through it with courage, with wisdom, with honor. Joining this Stoic community means breaking the chains that hold you back and building an inner fortress that no one can tear down. Follow us if you never want to miss another Stoic reflection again. Remember, every decision shapes your character. In the pinned comment, you'll find 2 paths, and each one exists for a reason. If this content helped you see more clearly, subscribe to receive weekly reflections. That will strengthen your willpower. The first step to self-mastery is choosing this path. If you want to actively support this community and keep the Stoic flame alive, become a member. Your support not only sustains this space, it expands it. Choose with intention. Everything you need is there. Because your growth can't be postponed. We'll meet again soon in Stoicism for Winners, where we'll continue exploring the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy in modern life. Now, take this opportunity to expand your understanding with new recommended sessions. Until we meet again, remember, you are the sole owner of your perception, the creator of your peace, and the warrior of your own battle. This is the legacy of Stoicism, the art of being invincible.